earn more money but too busy to start a side hustle? Do it the right way and teach your money to make more money for yourself, even when you're asleep. Dale Corpus will show you just how here on the School of Cash Flow. With his entrepreneurial mindset and extensive experience in real estate and finance, Dale will help you become a responsible, strategic, and passionate passive real estate investor. Learn how you can increase your earnings or find more ways to make money, only here on the School of Cash Flow.
Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to the School of Cash Flow podcast. I'm the host, Dale Corpus. So one of the hottest niches in real estate right now is short-term rentals. So it's something I'm not well versed in, as I've never owned or managed one, but it's something I've been wanting to learn about. Anyway, through networking in one of the masterminds group, I was able to connect with my guest, Emanuele Pani, today. I know him through GoBundance, and all I can say is that you're in for a treat. He is a short-term rental guru. So I'm excited to have him on as a guest. And to be honest with you, I wanted to bring him on a guest as well to learn a few things myself. And this is my first time connecting with him outside DMs and emails. A little bit more about background about Emanuele is that he's been doing short-term rentals for 11 years. He's a real estate expert, an entrepreneur with experience in investments, real estate sales and acquisitions, and a professional Airbnb hosting and management. He also has his own podcast. He's a co-host of the Short-Term Rental Secrets, and it focuses exclusively on short-term rentals. So that being said, well, Emanuele, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, man. Thank you for having me. Life is good. South Florida towards the end of September right now as we're recording this. So the majority of the summertime is gone. So we're looking forward to our season, which for vacation rental times, we're going to our high season, which is kind of always exciting. Also because through COVID, we are experiencing amazing levels of occupancy that I've never seen in the 11 years that I've been doing this. So we're kind of looking forward to really continue to push the envelope for the rest of the year.
Okay, perfect. So just, whereabouts in Florida are you located again? Mm-hmm.
So I live in Boca Raton, which is about 30 minutes north of Fort Lauderdale, about 30 minutes south of West Palm Beach, and about 45 minutes to an hour from Miami.
Okay, got you. Can you give my listeners a little bit more of your background of like how you even got into short-term rentals?
Yeah, I would love that. So I graduated college with a degree in accounting and finance.
Okay.
My idea was I wanted to be a Wolf of Wall Street. When I graduated college was 2010.
Okay.
So it was right after the big financial meltdown. I went to university in Geneva, Switzerland. As you all probably know, in Switzerland, there's more banks than people. So I'm like, okay, I'll probably be able to find a job here in finance. But that was not the vibe when I got out of school. So I kind of came back with my tail in between my legs all the way back to Boca Raton, Florida. My mom and sister were living in a fully furnished apartment at the time, right next door to a tennis academy, which is where my sister was playing. Came back, no job. And I just walked into the maintenance office and I met the guy that owned the place. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, I am Ana Maria's son. Just graduated from school. We need this and this in the apartment. He's like, hey, what are you doing for the rest of the time that you're here? I'm like, nothing. I just moved back from college. And he's Israeli. And he's like, look, I need somebody that is good with computers, that can answer their phone well and speaks English well, and that can answer their phone over the weekend. Because on Friday night, we go into Shabbat. Okay. And I can't touch the phone until the end of Saturday night. Do you want the job? I was like, sure. So I became the maintenance guy at the apartment complex and the weekend manager. And that was my start. And then little by little, I started buying some of the units that were coming up for sale there. And then in 2012, so nearly 2 years after I started working for him, he got a divorce, wanted to move back to Israel. And he's like, hey, I don't want this business anymore. I'm not going to run it from Israel. Do you want it? And what the business was, is a 40-unit apartment complex in Boca Raton, Florida. that has 24 2 bedrooms, 8 1 bedrooms, and 8 3 bedrooms. And I bought the management of the business. And then he gave me an owner finance loan plus helped me secure financing on 16 other units.
Okay.
So at 2022, I took over the business. And as of Thursday of last week, so September the 9th, I closed on the last unit. So I now own all 40 units at the apartment complex where I started as a maintenance guy 11 years ago. So that's how I got started. So it's a little bit different than most people. I kind of got started from a maintenance kind of perspective and I did everything, right? So like Airbnb is becoming very popular now because people obviously know about Airbnb if you're a vacation owner, but if you're looking through what I call the like hustlers kind of channels, you're seeing a lot of what's called Airbnb arbitrage. So what Airbnb arbitrage is, I come to you, Dale, I rent your house, and I pay you regular rental rates, and then I'm going to turn around and sublease it through the different travel platforms to guests. So when I got started, of the 40 units, I owned 16 of them, and then everything else that I had was an arbitrage. So I used to guarantee the rents and just make the difference.
I got it.
And that's just kind of how I got started.
Well, let me ask you, like, no, it's great. It sounds like you had, this opportunity just fell in your lap, and it's great that you had that strong relationship. I mean, and you knew the building, and it's like you were offered this opportunity and you really took advantage of it. You were there, right time and place. I mean, let me, let me ask you this. I mean, for short-term rentals, why did it take off? I mean, short-term rentals, Airbnb just came around, after probably in the last 15 years or so. But I know that short-term rentals have been around, but like why is it that short-term rentals are so popular right now?
So that's an interesting question, right? Because the idea of a vacation rental is in no way new, right? Like short-term rentals, or the rental or the exchange of homes has been around probably longer than hospitality has been, right? Like the idea of you exchanging a home with somebody. So there is a couple things that have, in my opinion at least, kind of like explain the reason why the industry has kind of exploded. And I can tell you, especially of the last 12 months. So obviously the way that the traveler psychology has kind of shifted in the last 12 months, it's very much dependent on the fact that we're still in this whole thing with COVID, right? So a lot of travelers have switched to going to vacation rentals because, one, you have your own space, meaning you have a lot of the times you have your own door, your own entryway. You're not sharing AC vents or AC circulation with any other place. You don't have a big lobby that you have to walk through. You're not going through elevators. You have your own kitchen, right? So it feels a lot safer, and it's actually easier for us to clean and sanitize a vacation rental property than it is to clean and sanitize a hotel. Reason number two is the fact that now, due to smart working, a lot of people can afford to be away for a little bit longer or extended periods of time, right? So a lot of our bookings are now like this 3 to 6 weeks kind of bookings.
Wow.
And obviously, if you're staying for that long, the benefit of having your own laundry and having a full size apartment where you can kind of stay in, and you maybe have a second bedroom where you have the office and you're not just living kind of cram in a hotel room, has really helped the industry. Number three is the fact that people are not longer traveling outside of the country as much as they're traveling within the country. So all of those what are called driving distance destinations from major metropolitan centers have been exploding, because you're like, hey, I used to travel 2 or 3 hours to Cancun. I'll now drive 2 or 3 hours to the Smokies or to the different areas around the countries that have become really, really popular, and people have the extra money, so they're buying vacation rentals. And it's just become kind of hot through like people like us doing the podcast, and there is a lot of chatter about it through YouTube channels. There's a lot of great people putting out amazing content out there, and it's really become known as a source for for financial freedom in a way that adds some aspects to real estate investing that are a little bit more fun, like decorating and hospitality. So there is a lot of people that maybe were like, I don't care to be a long-term real estate investor, that are getting into the vacation rental space because it's actually a lot of fun. And if you like decorating, so if you're a couple, right? So if you have some listeners that maybe they're a couple and he's analytical and she's creative, or vice versa, this could be the perfect little business for you, because you're like, hey, you run the numbers, you find the property, I make it amazing, I'll take care of all the customer service. And now this asset that was going to cash flow us maybe like 5, 6, 7%, it goes into double digits because you're now charging per night or per couple of nights versus charging long-term rentals.
Okay, I get it. So you use the word like hospitality. So it seems like with these, I mean, yes, you're renting them out and whatnot, but it's like, sounds like you're also just creating that experience to draw them in to want to book that property, right? Like
100%.
What type of, what goes into that? Like, what do you think of for creating that type of experience that would make them want to book this versus like a hotel?
One thing that you really picked up on very well, which is very important kind of distinction, is the fact that the moment you choose to come into this industry, you're now in hospitality, you're not longer in real estate, right? So the moment somebody comes and puts their head on your bed, it's a completely different kind of responsibility to them, and also a completely different business, right? But for example, and I'll give you an actual example. So we have a 4-bedroom house that we're launching right now. And the idea was so very similar to any product, we ask ourselves, okay, this is the property we have. Who is our target audience? So who is our ideal avatar? So this is a 4-bedroom house with a nice big yard. The family used to live there. They have kids, right? So they have already some kid stuff. So they're like, what can we do to make it special? So we ended up doing a whole Disney theme house. So every room has a different theme in it. And then we have the swing set outside and everything else. And all of our language, so all of our copy in the ad kind of hints to this kind of mystical experience, and something super stupid like, do you need a car? It'd be like, we would advise to have a car or a magic carpet, right? So like all the little things like that make it's a different experience, right? Like, so you go in, but it's the same as any other product. Like, as you're designing a location, you think about like, okay, ideally, who are my target customers that I'm going after? Okay. And how can I gear the stuff that I put inside the unit and the copy of the unit describing it to the particular guest avatar, right? So knowing that people are smart working now, every one of our units has extra desks because people need to work from home, right? So is understanding, okay, what does the client want now? What does the guest want that we're trying to go after? And then trying to make the experience as much geared to them as we possibly can.
Okay, that does make sense. And I know we're talking about Airbnb, but is pretty much Airbnb is it the only platform? I know that VRBO exists. I'm not sure if that's also considered, a competitor with Airbnb in this space, or is it? No?
Yeah. So this is how you have done a great job as a company, is when the name of your company becomes synonymous with the entire industry, right? Because we would refer to them as like STR, which are like short-term rentals,
right? But
most people call them Airbnbs.
Got it.
Because they're just like the same thing is like when you need a tissue, right? Like most people will refer to it
Kleenex, right? Yeah,
exactly, right? You'd refer to the company, right? So they've done the same thing. But there is actually a lot of different companies out there, VRBO being one of them, that help you push out your listing to as many eyes as possible.
Okay.
Obviously, Airbnb. So if your listeners are in the like 1 to 2 unit zone of like, they just want to try it out, you can have great success on a single OTA, which is a single travel website, right? Like Airbnb. Obviously, for somebody like me that now has 46 units, I can't rely on a single travel source for a variety of reasons, right? Like, number one, when it comes to OTAs, they own the data,
Mm.
which is, I mean, nobody should be surprised now, right? Like,
Right.
especially
Right.
everybody, like, no, we are not allowed to have our clients' data anymore unless you go get it yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our goal, obviously, as a professional company, is we retarget guests that come through different OTAs and try to bring them through our direct booking website. And so we try to stay as far away from Airbnbs and VRBOs as possible, and just use them to our advantage to fill up little gaps and holes that we have. But we try to bring in about 60% of my bookings across my entire portfolio come from our own website.
It's amazing.
What happened with COVID is that when COVID went down, Airbnb says like, hey, we're canceling all reservations and we're refunding everything. And so if you're a single host with a single unit, you're like, okay, that sucks, but it is what it is, right? If you're somebody like me that's 46 units and I exclusively rent them on Airbnb, and now Airbnb cancels my entire calendar for the next 60 to 90 days and refunds everything that I have, what am I going to do?
Yeah, no, I get it. So it's like you've built something for yourself to keep it all going. Mm.
Correct. And we use Airbnb for what they're good at, but in the way that we need them rather than the other way around.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So of all your units, are most of them close by to you, or are more of them, out of the area?
No, so I only invest locally. I have a lot of friends that I've met through our podcast that run units all around the country. To me, the important thing in understanding my own personal business in being local is the fact that my business is a vertically integrated business, and I rely on economy of scale from my property management business, my real estate brokerage, and everything else to generate leads for the rest of the verticals. And for me to reduce costs, the fact that they're all local within a 30-minute, 45-minute range from where I am in Boca, allows my team and all of my network of subcontractors to reach all the properties. So I rather own one market and have all the systems and procedures for the specific market, rather than spread myself thin across too many markets or having to create infrastructure in all these different markets. I am not a great implementer. I'm a great visionary. So to me, it's easier to stay in this market where I already have a system and a team, and just rely on my vision to grow and scaling within this market and my people skills in this market, rather than going where you are, where I don't know anybody and I have to recreate everything.
Okay. I would think that because of all the frequent turnover, this is really an active business. I mean, you have 40 plus units that you're working on. So like what kind of systems, or how about did you kind of make it so that it could be a little bit, less active, more passive for you? It's like, what do you have in place?
So it is definitely an active business. So if you're looking to vacation rentals as something to replace your income, it can be, but it's not going to replace your income without you doing anything, especially at the beginning, right? You need to create the systems. The good thing is, in the 11 years that I've been doing this, technology has now really rolled into it very heavily. So you have a lot of apps and applications and different websites, they all integrate with each other, that have allowed us to kind of create a lot of like systematization to the business. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that my property management software talks to my dynamic pricing software, which is what I use to price the units, which then talks to my communication software, which sends out all the automatic emails and everything else, which also talks to my cleaning software, which sends out cleaning jobs to the different people, and so on and so forth. So everything else, and I can tell you exactly the name of all these different kind of software, so we can get super specific for a second, just in case somebody in your audience is like, I actually need to know what they are. So my property management software, I use one called Hostfully. So it's Hostfully. So Hostfully. There is another one out there called Guesty. I use Price Labs as my dynamic pricing software. And what a dynamic pricing software is the airline concept of supply and demand applied to vacation rental. So the system sees other listings and adjusts based on supply and demand historically, and can change your rules, meaning like I have an opening 3 days from now for 2 nights. I usually book only 4 nights minimum, but I know I have this whole, if it's not rented within 48 hours from check-in, reduce the minimum nights to this so we can get it rented. And it does it automatically for you, right? Smart BNB is my communication software that queues every single bit of communication that goes into it, from an initial contact to a final contact, meaning thank you for your inquiry, confirmation, hey, you're coming, arrival instructions, hey, you checked in, how you doing, hey, you're about to leave, safe travels, hey, thank you for coming, book again with this discount, or don't forget to leave us a review, or so on and so forth. All of those are automated. System has an algorithm in there that smart learns what people ask. So you can start going in there and queuing, hey, if people ask for dogs, this is where you add in there, this is where you charge, so on and so forth. If you have somebody that is listening, it's like, I am a busy mom or a busy dad, or I just have a busy job and I don't want to respond to people. Technology is out there now that helps you respond. Before, I used to just have a Word document with templated emails, and I would have to physically copy and paste and paste them into emails, right? So all of that has changed. And then there's one called Turnover BNB, which is where you find cleaners. So that syncs with your calendar on your property management software. And the moment a new booking comes in, a cleaning request goes out to your preferred network of cleaners.
Yeah.
And they can bid on it and be like, I'll take it. And and nothing on your side has to be done. So those are all my, what I call a technology stack. Then I have my personal assistant, Joyce, that takes care of most of the communication. And then I have a full-time cleaning staff and one full-time maintenance person.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. It sounds like you have a really well-oiled machine. And it's great that technology has gotten so far where that AI, artificial intelligence, is really helping, and it makes it seem like, a real person is, responding to them and just kind of knowing what their wants and needs. We're both, realtors too. So it's like on my leads for online leads, I have a good amount of AI supporting me as well. So I love that technology. It's got it so good. I know that you don't do short-term rentals out of state, but folks that do that. I'm curious, because this is new to me though too. How are they managing it since they're not even there? I mean, do they a lot of times I'm guessing that they're either renting or owning that property, but they have to find some sort of a co-host or something to manage all of the bookings and whatnot. How does that work?
So the people that just don't want to deal with it, just hire a property manager. The people that are managers or professional hosts like myself that have units out of state or far away from them, just created the same system that I told you about. So the good news is this, right? Like, if I run my properties in Boca, or I come to San Francisco, or I go to New York, my technology stack will work the same. So my technology stack does not change. The difference is what I call the boots on the ground. So a lot of the time you're going to leverage websites like Thumbtack, where you can find like handymans. So you're going to leverage those kind of relationships to be your boots on the ground. And a lot of the times, one of the best source for those is going to be whoever does your cleaning. So, hey, you personally do my cleaning, you become my A crew for the cleanings. You're also going to be responsible for doing this, this, and that. Is this okay with you? And then you kind of create an infrastructure of people around you with boots on the ground. But again, your technology stack on this side remains the same. So if you have VAs that support other businesses of yours, you can just create them into new checks and balances for them for that new business. And then they're just checking on all the systems as they're supposed to do anyways. And then in case anything is needed, they trigger a text message to your boots on the ground. And it's like, hey, you need to take care of this, or you need to take care of that.
Got it. for finding, this property manager, co-host type of person for the boots to be the boots on the ground, what have you seen that people are doing to source that?
So again, I've seen a lot of people promote cleaners. So if you start with just a single property and that person does well with cleaning, just kind of helping her grow or him grow with you along the way, passing a percentage of, instead of just paying a flat fee for cleaning, passing a percentage of the bookings, or just finding other professional hosts in the area. Again, my question when it comes to whatever or not you're going to go out of state is understanding what is the reason behind you getting into this industry in the first place, and what is the long-term goal. If the goal is for you to just have a second home that you don't pay for and that maybe makes a little bit of money for you, the systems and procedures that you need to get that done are a lot smaller. And if you implement a technology stack like mine, it really becomes extremely passive, because anyways, you have just one property. Obviously, if you want this to become a source of income and you want this to replace another job that you have, or you're in a position of you have a lot of capital and you have, for example, a real estate team, and you're like, okay, I want to add this as a source of income for my team, then it's really understanding how big of a systems you want to create based on what your end goal is, right? If I want 100 units, it's going to be very different. And I will probably try to concentrate again on economy of scale, because my economy of scale goes beyond the people to also the supplies, right? Because I can buy supply in bulk and have them in a central location. And I get boxes and boxes and boxes of towels, paper towels, toilet paper, shampoo. I buy everything in bulk, but I can because everything is within a 40-minute driving distance. So my centrally located laundry facility that I have with all of our stuff can service all of our units.
You talked about the word arbitrage and how, in this business, in short-term rentals, someone doesn't even need to own property to get this all up and running. So you could either, you could sublease something that you rent to get it started in this business, or else you could buy it, own it and do short-term rentals that way. I'm just curious. I mean, in this space, are more of the folks that do this business, are they doing the arbitrage method, or do they own the property?
I think it's different groups of people, meaning that the real estate investors that own end up just keep on owning and keep on buying more and more and changing the type of property. So somebody like me now, I don't want to go into a single family house. I'd rather buy a small multi-family, like a hotel, motel kind of thing, renovated, and have, again, economy of scale to adding properties. The arbitrage guys, that's harder for you to do. So they tend to stay in the arbitrage space and they just rent entire floors at times. So what they do is they go to new developments that, again, the more you know, right? New development,
right.
Just built. Their only interest is like, I need to get to 95% occupancy so we can sell it. So they go in there and they're like, hey, I'll rent out the entire floor for you. Just waive my first and last requirements, and I'm going to furnish them all, and I'm going to rent them as Airbnbs. So the guys that do arbitrage at a very high level, that's what they're doing. And they're professionals just like me, right? So all of their units are furnished all of the same. They have centrally located warehouses where they have all of their stuff there. And then to them, it's literally no problem, because if they run out of a lease on one and they are not getting renewed, they can just literally pack up all their furniture and they're going to move it into another unit. But it's a different business.
Yeah, I get it. I'm curious, even just in terms of like returns, in terms of like the amount of rent you receive, like with your own units, if you had them as long-term rentals, which you don't, you have them as short-term rentals, kind of like what's the difference between like expected rent, between the two? I mean, I know that when you do a short-term rental, it kind of supercharges everything. Is it almost based on a multiplier, or how does that, I mean?
Yeah, I do in average 3 times what I will make. It's a long-term rental on a short-term.
Okay, that makes sense. And it like, what things do you look at or advise people to look at when they are looking at a property, for, to purchase as a short-term rental? Do you have any guidelines or recommendations for that?
So understanding your market and the market that you're in, right? So also understanding what is the supply and demand in that specific market.
Yep.
So there's a website called AirDNA that allows you to really go in there and seeing, let's say that you like this specific area, you can go in there and see, okay, the majority of listing in these areas are 2-bedroom, 2 bathrooms with the pool, and these are all the amenities that they offer. So one is making sure once you have narrowed down the market that you want to be in, is understanding, okay, what is the expectation, right? So is the majority of people having 2-bedroom or 3 bedrooms? And then obviously, if the majority of people, so 80% of listings are 3 bedrooms, you may not want to go there, right? You may want to go to a 4-bedroom house. So you're one of the few listings that has a 4-bedroom house. If 90% of people have a pool, you either are going to have to adjust your prices if you don't have one, or definitely look for something that has a pool. And then the last thing is really understanding, how do I create a vibe at the property that I'm buying, right? So if you're buying a single family house and it has a small front yard, has no backyard, you don't have a fence, you're overlooking the neighbor overlooks at you, and you're going there, when you walk it, ask yourself, if we were going on vacation, would this be something we want to be in? Does this neighborhood make me feel safe? If the idea is you're going to buy in Nashville is the bachelorette capital in America, right now. You show up at the property and you're like, I don't feel safe here. Chances are your guests most likely are going to be there for a bachelorette or a bachelor party, and they're not going to feel safe there. So why would you buy something there? So it's very keep it simple, stupid, but it's really understanding, put your traveler hat on and experience the property that you're thinking about buying from those eyes of like, okay, I've saved money to take my family on vacation. This is where I am. Am I happy?
Makes sense. And what about, are you ever concerned about, I don't know, rules and regulations in a certain city area where they might prevent short-term rentals from occurring? Like, how does that come into play? Mm-hmm.
So I look at all of those before, and I never gamble that a market is going to become more short-term rental friendly. Okay. If it's not right now. Obviously, that is where the writing is going, like meaning like most markets are becoming more and more open to vacation rentals, just for a simple fact that more markets are seeing how much money they're making collecting sale tax and hospitality tax from vacation rentals. And as the market is getting more regulated and more professional people are going into it, that horror stories of the wild parties, Project X type of thing are not happening as much. So people are becoming more comfortable. But first thing first, if you're buying in a neighborhood that has an HOA community in it, just read the bylaws. Make sure that you're allowed to do it and make sure that that is in there. Because regardless of your municipality or your county rules, a HOA ruling would run over that. Right. So meaning if you buy in a community that is a gated community or HOA community, and the rules are in the bylaws of the community that you're not allowed to do it, it doesn't matter if the state, the county, the governor gave you a personal letter saying you, my friend, can do it. If your HOA docs say you cannot do it.
Yeah, makes
and
sense.
Then just go in places that are already friendly. And there is a lot of counties. And that's in just understanding sometimes a city is not friendly, but if you just hop one county over city limits, city lines, they're friendly. So understanding where that line is, because that's actually a great niche. Because if a major MSA is not vacation rental friendly, you can just find the next pocket over. All of those people that are looking for vacation rentals there within driving distance to the city, they will come and stay outside of city limits to have a vacation rental.
What about wear and tear on these properties? Since turnover is so frequent, I mean, do things tend to break down more? I mean, do you contacting handymen more frequently to fix things? I mean, any horror stories? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the more people you talk to, the more horror stories you'll hear. To me, it really goes into one, quality in, quality out, meaning when you buy stuff, invest in quality that can handle the wear and tear. The best example is like all the towels and the sheets. Like we buy hospitality grade towels and sheets because they're made for the extra washes, right? So they're just better quality stuff. Overall, you'll be surprised, but the normal guest does not cause too much wear and tear. Also, because if they come from one of the major OTAs, there is a host to guest review policy. So the same way a host wants a 5-star review, a traveler wants a 5-star review, because if they're not acting accordingly, they won't be able to get into other properties. And most people, and this is my own personal kind of philosophy, but I think most people are good. And so I believe that most people are respectful and most people take care of your property, especially if they walk into something that they can feel is being taken care of. Like they can feel that you care about your property, and they can tell by just your welcome message and everything else that you're professional in what you're doing. They'll respect it equally as much.
Yeah, that makes sense. For folks that own, these properties and are doing short-term rentals, how does insurance work? Is it any different from a long-term rental type of policy, or is it different?
Yeah, so there's special insurance. Those are going to be a little bit higher. And obviously your run cost of a vacation rental is higher than a long-term rental, meaning you're paying for all the utilities. You're paying for the Wi-Fi and cable. So all of those costs of running the property is more expensive.
Got it. I mean, I'm curious, so what's next in store for you? I mean, you have any coming goals in the next year?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, being part of GoAbundance, we kind of live and breathe through our goals and always trying to get to the next level. We recently opened this real estate brokerage, so a lot of my time and focus is going to go into that right now.
Okay.
And I'm just looking at, I have a 28 unit apartment complex under contract in Charleston, South Carolina right now. That is a long-term rental property. And then we're just looking for the next kind of small boutique kind of property in the South Florida market. So something that like 15 to 20 unit range, that we can kind of create the same thing that we have with our main property. So those are kind of the main rocks that I have probably moving forward.
Very cool. I mean, and what's something in the short-term rental space that you wish you knew when you first started? So
that's the smart BNB. So the automatic messaging software, it's a life changer. And I know from our podcast that anytime we ask about the technology stack that professional hosts use, and I'm talking people that have hundreds of units, implementing smart BNB and implementing automatic guest messaging gave the most amount of freedom back to people when they were starting this business. And I'm telling you, man, at the beginning, I ran this through a Excel spreadsheet, and people would have to call in to give me credit cards, right? So like, to me, all the technology that has come over the last 11 years has been completely godsend. So, but honestly, if you can leverage any bit of the technology that is out there, really do it, because it's going to give you that freedom component that can really come from this business. Because if not, this is going to become a full-time job.
Wow. Any other advice you have to aspiring short-term rental investors?
Yeah. So one, just really put yourself in the shoes of the people that you want to have as guests. Okay. Really start referring to them as guests, and really start owning the fact that you are coming into the hospitality industry. You don't have to be here for the rest of your life. But while you are running an Airbnb, you're no longer a landlord. You're no longer a real estate investor. The first thing you are is a hospitality person. that is also a real estate investor. So you have to approach your clients and the understanding of the duty and responsibility that we have when people choose to spend their money at our property. We have the duty and responsibility to take care of them and not cut corners and deliver quality product with pride. And you're going to get great cash flow and great returns from it that are above market. But don't look at this as how much money I'm making before you look at it as to how am I creating an experience for my guest that is memorable.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like you really strive to create that really good experience because you want those good reviews on Airbnb, right? That keeps people coming back. That'll separate your listing from somebody else's.
And you want return clients. The good thing with vacation rentals is that most people will come back because a lot of the travelers that you'll have are coming to you, not just for vacation, right? They're coming to visit family. They're coming for holidays. They're coming for birthday parties. They're coming for bar mitzvahs. You know what I mean? And those type of people come back year after year because they do. And they move out of town and they move back in town. So especially if you have listeners that are other real estate agents, you don't know the amount of clients that I have that moved into town in one of our properties. We helped them find a property. They moved out of town, so we helped them sell the property, and then they moved back into town. So they went into one of our properties that we helped them buy a property, and it's this continuous kind of cycle.
Yeah. You leave that lasting impression. You make it memorable so they remember you and they come back, right? So I love that. I like to ask this question at the end is what does success mean to you?
For me, it's just freedom. And what I mean by that is freedom to do what I want, when I want. And I don't even look at it in a sense of a net worth that I'm going after. It's just, do I have the monthly cash flow to do what I want to do now? And if I do, then I'm free.
No, I love it.
And I'm successful.
I love that. And what would you say is your superpower that's contributed to your success?
Huge people person. Very, very empathetic, very, very understanding of kind of people and situations, and just generally curious about people. So I have clients that now have been clients for the 11 years that I've been doing this, and I've seen them come in with their kids being little babies, and they're still clients of ours.
Very cool. And I want to just let my listeners know, it's you guys could get a hold of them. I mean, what's if they want to reach out to you, how can they best get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I, being 32, I love Instagram, so I'm on Instagram a lot. So that's epani.realestate. That's my personal IG. And then if they want the company, so the real estate brokers, that's Pani Properties.
Okay.
So those are usually the two best ways. That's it.
Very cool. Well, hey, that's all the time we have for today. And thanks, Emanuele, for joining me on this episode.
My pleasure.
Enjoyed the conversation, found it motivational, even, and I learned a lot myself. Love your energy and just love your strong mindset, by the way. Admire everything that you're doing in this space. And definitely have to meet you in person at the next GoBundance event.
Oh yeah. I'll be in Utah.
All right.
For the winter event. So
perfect.
I'll see you soon.
I'll be there too. And to my listeners, I hope this show taught you something and inspired you. Definitely, it's time to level up. Thank you for checking out this episode of the School of Cash Flow. And remember to leave a podcast review on iTunes, as it helps you even attract even more guests. And until next time, live life abundantly.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the School of Cash Flow. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into all the tips and tricks you can use to help you on your passive investing journey. In the meantime, you may visit www.cashflowschoolpodcast.com for more great episodes. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time.